Do I look silly with these glasses on? I'm just gonna take them off. Yes, we are gonna be talking about the vagina. The word is often used in replace of the word vulva, which is what we're actually gonna be talking about. We're gonna be talking about the entire female private part. Let's just jump right in, okay? The vagina is a self-cleaning, it is a self-cleaning machine. So when it comes to cleaning it and taking care of it, you really don't need much. Like, you see these commercials and they're like, oh, this pH balancing citrusy explosion for your cootie cat. That's what you need to make it healthy. Like, that's not the case. We have parts of the vulva, let me say that. We have parts of the vulva which include the labia majora and the labia minora, the clitoris, etc., the urethra, and the vagina, which is that hole in which is the canal. I'm gonna start by saying having pubic hair does not mean that you're unclean. Actually, it's healthier to have hair, because having the hair, one, it can keep you warm. Like it literally keeps you warm. When you do shave, wax, etc., you open yourself up to the possibility of getting an infection if you get a cut or anything like that, tear. Hair also is there to prevent friction from like your clothing and your private area, and constant friction can lead to ingrown hairs. It could also lead to cysts. Let me go into razor bumps. When you have razor bumps, it's really good to exfoliate in an up and down motion, aside from a circular one, because you want to train those hairs to go straight up instead of curling into itself, which can cause a bigger ingrown situation, and it's going to be painful, and we have all been there. Also, did you know that the labia majora is meant to protect the inside? It's really important to upkeep that, at least the health of that, so it doesn't impact the inside. So one thing that I started learning in my late teens and like into my adulthood is you really need to know your vagina, your vulva. Like seriously, like get a mirror. You do want to know your vagina. You want to know what it looks like. You do want to know what it smells like. If you want to know what it tastes like, then that is completely your business. When it comes to knowing what your body looks like, you also want to know what your body can handle. And I'm going to specifically talk about tampons, pads, liners, soaps, etc. I'm just going to tell a little story. I remember one time last year I was using these tampons that I had never used before, and like my vagina like essentially like was like had some allergic reaction to it. I am positive that it was because there were fragrances in it, in the tampons. Whole vulva was like swollen. And when I stopped using the tampons, I was fine. So you want to know what products are good for your body. I suggest that is hypoallergenic and is fragrance free, not unscented. When you have something with fragrances, you're just opening yourself up to the possibility, the increased probability of you having a reaction to them. I mean, and when it comes to your menstrual cycle, you could use tampons, pads. A lot of women do, most women do, but you could also consider free bleeding, which is as it sounds. And a lot of women, there's been a lot of anecdotal evidence that shows that free bleeding can shorten your period, make the symptoms like cramps.
I walked in the house, bitches decided that they just weren't gonna like me, period.
Heavy bleeding, heavier bleeding lesson. Do your own research on free bleeding and other people's experiences with that, and if you are able, I would say why not give it a try. So let's talk fragrance-free unscented, etc. Unscented is as it says, it's unscented. Now, with unscented, there are still fragrances in that unscented product. So you are still, as I said prior, opening yourself up to the probability of having a vaginal reaction. I think that people oftentimes think that unscented means fragrance free, and unscented means it's healthier for you, and that's not necessarily the case. But as said before, you should really do your own research on the difference between fragrance free and unscented. What I can tell you is fragrance free is not often 100% fragrance free, and that goes for a lot of things. You know, when people say, oh, it's a natural product or it's all natural, not necessarily all natural, but when they say it's a natural product, there's only a certain percentage, and I believe it's 51% of the product is natural. Then it can claim itself, it can like promote itself to be a natural product. Does that make sense? Like if the majority is natural, then it can just say, oh yeah, I'm a natural product. Natural. So you always want to read the ingredients, you really do, when it comes to, well, with anything, but when it comes to your vulva, your labias, your vagina, because it's such sensitive tissue down there. So what I recommend trying, especially if you want to, like, especially if like you notice that like you may not feel as clean down there, you may be having discharge that you don't consider to be a part of your normal discharge smell or appearance. One, I suggest you go to your doctor. Like, you and your doctor should be on one accord with each other about, you should be like very honest about what your body is doing, especially when it comes to your vagina, because you always want to just maintain that health. But if you don't have access to a doctor, you could always get vaginal suppositories, change your diet, and even change your soaps. You could try Dr. Bronner's. There's Dr. Woods. There's Mario Badescu, Schmidt's. I use, for my vagina, I use an all-natural soap that I got from an Etsy seller. It is a Castile soap. Actually, let me go get it. This is the soap that I use. Castile soaps are normally made from coconut oil, and I'm allergic to coconut like really bad, and this one is made out of olive oil. I do recommend a Castile soap if you do use soap on your vagina. Now, let me go into how I clean my vagina. This is probably the worst book to use, like the freaking Oscar the Grouch and trash. All right, so what you're gonna do is we're gonna pretend that the front cover and the back cover are the lips, and I open it up. You're not supposed to put soap in your whole area. Actually, you can wash your vagina just with water because it is a self-cleaning thing. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend getting like a Caress body wash and like putting it down. Like, no. But it's your body. So what I do is I take my lips, the majora, and in this area when you're washing, you may see like discharge. You may see a white film, which could be discharge, mixed in with like pieces of linen, like I don't want to say dust bunnies, but like it could be that. Yeah, and it could also be like remnants of tissue or something. Like if you have like a thinner tissue, it may be that as well from wiping. All of these things are normal. When I'm using a soap, what I do is I take the soap. Okay, this is the inner lip. This is like the menorah. This is the majora, the inner of it. Take a little bit of soap. I'm only gonna, ooh, it's very, yeah. And I just use my hand and I just wash it circular motion. You don't need a washcloth. If you want to use one, that's fine. If you can just use your hands and you can just use water. But if you need to use a soap, then just wipe the inner part, rinse, 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 or wipe it clean with a wet rag. Just make sure it's clean and there's no soap left. Go to the other one, the other inner lip. Like I said, this is the outer of the menorah. This is the inner of the majora. Wash that with soap, rinse it, wipe it, and then we're not done washing. We're gonna pretend this is the clitoris, right? So the clitoris has a hood, which covers the clitoris, which protects it. And a lot of women, trust me, a lot of women forget to wash this area. So what you're gonna do is pull the hood back. And if you use soap, that's fine. I wouldn't recommend it because you don't want like soap to be trapped under the hood. And you want to pull the hood back. You can just do this gently. You don't have to like you don't have to do too much. Your vagina is sensitive, so just treat it as such. It's delicate. And wipe the clitoris in a circular motion. Just wipe it off, because you don't want somebody down there and it's tasting like ramen noodle water or something. You don't need to insert anything in your vagina unless it's a suppository that like you've done research on or your doctor prescribed you, or it's a tampon or something. You don't need soap. And when I talk about the vagina right now, I'm talking about the hole. You don't need soap up there. Like if something doesn't smell right, you might want to consider going to a doctor or changing up your diet. I'm on the fence about apple cider vinegar. It is soothing. Like I've used it. It does soothe, but I'm not sure about like if it's like a healer, you know? So I'm not gonna even speak on it because I haven't done a ton of research on it and I don't have that much experience with it. Now we're gonna talk about the bathroom. You're gonna wipe front to back. I think we know that by now. We're gonna wipe front to back, but what I do is I also do like a wipe up after I use the bathroom just to keep it like fresh. I am not terribly like fond of using baby wipes to wipe up because those also include fragrances and stuff. So yeah, I don't want, just because I had that bad experience with the fragrance and the tampons, I don't want any like fragrances down there. If you don't like wipe up after, I hope you wipe. Like I hope you wipe. But I'm saying if you don't like wash up afterwards, you don't need to use like soap and stuff. Like if you just get a wet rag and just, all right, I'm fresh and clean. Like if you don't do that, that's fine. If you just wash your vagina and your anal cavity, not the cavity. You just wash your behind, in the shower. That's totally your business. You know what keeps you fresh. You know how long you're fresh for. You should be taking showers often, at least once a day, or like once every 2 days. But if you start smelling yourself, then you waited too long. All right. So since we talked about showering, we're gonna talk about what happens after you shower. What happens after you shower? You get out, right? And some people like to air dry, some people don't. But one thing that I know that people forget sometimes is you need to dry it off. When you have water in a darker, warm place, that's when bacteria starts to form. So be sure that if you air dry with your legs open. Like if you towel dry, make sure you do that thoroughly. You don't need to like scrub it dry. Like you can just pat it dry. Just make sure that it's dry. You want to focus on the inner lips. You know, that's the main area that needs to be dried. You don't need to like wipe down your vaginal hole. Like you don't need to do that. Just make sure that, I would say make sure that your labia majora is dried off. I want to talk about foods. So I know we're talking about vaginal, like keeping it clean and stuff, but also want to briefly talk about lubrication. So, and I'm just going to be transparent because that's all I know how to be. So a year ago, I realized that like I wasn't getting as like lubricated and as I am like compared to now. Like that is TMI, but I'm just being honest. And that's because of my diet. I didn't really eat. Like I would have a snack at work and then come home and that would be like so in order to like increase lubrication, just if you may have that issue, you may want to increase your fatty acids. I read somewhere that sweet potatoes can also do that for you, and that can also increase your sex drive. I don't know if sweet potatoes are an aphrodisiac. Now let's talk about myth number 2. So myth number 1 was that having hair means you're unclean. It really does. I would say, like, if I were to have, like, if I decide to like grow my hair out, just to keep it trim, not for health reasons or not for beauty reasons, but because I don't want that stuff to snag. Like, have you ever like, oh, girl, your hair is growing out and like it snags on like it may not even be like a zipper, it could be like it gets caught like in your panties or something and you're just like something like that. We're gonna talk about vaginal taste and vaginal smell. Come here. Just because you ate that one pineapple 2 days ago does not mean that your bikini bottom is about to be tasting like SpongeBob's house. It's not. It's just not. That's not what it means. You honestly need to eat, if you want to have your vaginal, I don't want to call it discharge because then people, I don't know. If you want your vaginal taste to have a hint of sweetness, it's not going to taste like, oh my girl, what is that, a acai bowl that you ate? Well, that's good. Like, it's not that. Like, it's not. And that's just being honest. You would need to eat like an abundance of fruit in order to get a hint of sweetness. People hear, oh, you want your vagina to taste sweet, just eat pineapples. It's not just pineapples, it is any citrus fruit. You want to eat in abundance, but eating in abundance of anything can be bad for you. So instead of having, I'm moving my hands a lot, I'm more lively in this video because I'm really excited and I did a lot of research. So instead of focusing on, oh, I need to eat this much fruit, because too much anything, even too much water, can be bad for you. So you want to focus on a balanced diet. A balanced diet is just the best way to not only, because you shouldn't be focused on having a good tasting vagina. You should be focused on having a healthy vagina that's thriving and thumping. A good water intake and a balanced diet. Do the best that you can with a balanced diet, because I know there are food deserts and such, so it makes it like harder for some people to like maintain a like what society considers a balanced diet. Oh, let me say, I want to talk about the baby wipes. Let me say this really quick because I'm not sure if I mentioned it. With the baby wipes, even if you use the baby wipes after you use the bathroom, like let's say you use the bathroom and then you use baby wipes, make sure you still use tissue, because baby wipes are wet, and I already said previously you want to have a dry vagina. Not like, when I'm saying vagina, I'm not meaning the canal, I'm meaning like the vulva is a whole, the vagina is a whole. You want it to be dry, so still use like a washcloth to dry it, or tissue or something. Let me end off because I've been talking for a while now. Like I said, I really enjoyed making this video. So thank you all for watching if you made it this far. Vaginas were not placed upon us to smell like sugar plums and Genovia. Like, they weren't. They weren't meant to taste like candy canes on a cold winter night. They weren't. Like, your vagina tastes like a vagina. Your vagina smells like a vagina. Like, think that a lot of people are under the misconception that vaginas, you have to get these products to change how it smells. You have to get these products to change how it tastes. Or, like, I would say you should, I don't know, I don't want to say experiment with your vagina, but like, you could go and see how, like, the smell of your vagina is like when you use a natural soap versus when you use like a caress. Or I want to end off by saying vaginas are going to smell like vaginas. They're going to taste like vaginas. They are. And that is just the reality. There are things that you can do to make your vagina taste better than like what it like could. Like, if I ate fast food all day, it's not like my coochie's not gonna taste like a french fry, but it's gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna taste unhealthy. Like, or like, versus if I ate salad and chicken and rice and a fruit smoothie, like, you know, it's just gonna taste different. Like, it's gonna be healthier. You are gonna know the difference. If you have a partner, they're gonna know the difference, you know? Do your research on yourself and know what your body looks like, know what your body feels like. If you want to know what it tastes like I said, that's your business. I'm not about to, I'll have somebody else do that for me. But I want to say it's not gonna be easy to like get down packed. These are the products I'm gonna use. It's gonna be a trial and error, but it does take a lot of women, including myself, years to figure out a routine for, okay, my vagina likes this. Okay, my vagina likes pads more than tampons, or tampons more than pads, or nothing at all, or it likes Castile soap, or it likes no soap at all. You know, it's gonna take some time, and that's okay, because it's your body, and you should actually take the time to figure out what routine works best for you, because all vaginas are different. Like, some have like beauty marks in there, some like have longer labias than others, some have smaller clitorises than others. I want to say this before I go. Make sure when you are putting in your pads, putting on your tampons, putting on your liners, wash your hands and get under them fingernails. Let me actually go over it because I said a lot. So, hairy vagina or vagina with hair is not an unhealthy vagina. You want to get to know your vagina. Seriously, get a mirror and look at it. You want to experiment with what products are best for your vagina. Unscented and fragrance-free are two different things. They are. Your vagina does not need soap. Make sure that you dry your vulva, dry her off, dry your labia. Eating some pineapple does not mean that your vagina is going to taste like a pineapple. Balanced diet is the best diet to have over just eating fruit, because your focus should be having a healthy vagina and not just a sweet one. And to close, like I said, vaginas are going to taste like vaginas. Vaginas are going to smell like vaginas. But we can all do something different in order to make our vaginas healthier. Time to go do mom duty. So, all right. Bye, you guys.
you.